unfortunately, the local partners that we found were much more interested in investing in the rest of the world.
Solar, wind power, batteries.
It's not going to happen overnight. I'm an impatient entrepreneur.
So you're free to go.
We need a China strategy.
How do they do it?
I don't know if it is.
新年快乐. That's Happy New Year in Mandarin, because this is the first day of the Year of the Ox, a very auspicious year to get to work driving climate solutions in this decisive decade. And so we're here at D3's Mission Log. We're every week trying to bring you an episode of learnings from building the world's largest climate tech accelerator with Bryan, who leads the pack at the D3 organization. And this week, we're actually going to discuss what it's like to work with Chinese entrepreneurs and innovators, and how we are trying to build that bridge even stronger with the third derivative. Because China, as you know, is the driver of both production and consumption of solar, wind power, batteries, EVs, and so much more in their energy systems as they transition, that we really need to ride that dragon, as it were. So, Bryan, what have you learned so far about the China piece of the puzzle?
Yeah, and I guess let's be clear here. We haven't cracked this nut yet. We have great ambitions. No one thinks we're going to solve climate without China on board. There's incredible innovation happening every day in China, and thus far we haven't found the right way to engage with China for several different reasons. As I expressed in a previous episode, we knew that we wouldn't have for legalistic reasons. We, as an organization that's legally based in the United States, wouldn't have the ability to invest directly into Chinese startups. So we knew it was going to be crucial to find local partners in China to help us. And unfortunately, the local partners that we found were much more interested in investing in the rest of the world, so they didn't really come through for us. One of the takeaways there, and this is another takeaway that we've also learned, Danny, through members of New Energy Nexus, including Andrew, who does the China Clean Tech podcast, is how important it is to have kind of boots on the ground to really develop and cultivate those local partnerships. And it can take time. It's not going to happen overnight. I'm an impatient entrepreneur. I'm pushing third derivative at the pace that is required to address this challenge. But there's some things that might just take time, and developing those relationships locally might just be one of those. We might have to have a little bit of patience there. I will say also, we did have some lost in translation challenges probably as well. We translated a number of our kind of product marketing materials. We're fortunate half of our team basically speaks Mandarin Chinese and writes it well, and we have great partners in New Energy Nexus and RMI who can also help us get the message out. But one of our takeaways and pieces of feedback that we received is that something in the message is lost when we just kind of directly translate. There are cultural differences in the ways that Chinese think about industry and commercialization and innovation, that just translating our probably kind of North American and Eurocentric mindset didn't really work. So we need to give some much deeper thought to the framing and the way that we present the challenge, the opportunity, etc.
Great lesson. That's really important, just to get some local readers and feedback to get that right.
That's right. And as with all things, we try to have the mindset of a startup ourselves. We're testing things and learning from them and adapting. We also, and this was pretty obvious from the beginning, we're not going to use the same media to reach Chinese audiences that we would use to reach North American and European audiences. WeChat was obviously a much better medium for us than Twitter and LinkedIn, and probably there are other ways for us to continue expanding our China kind of specific approach. But also, when we did reach our targets, when we did have good and fruitful conversations with Chinese corporates, startups, etc., we just found that the needs are different, and the expectations are different. We have a product that we kind of put together and that has generated a lot of traction with global corporates, but largely corporates that are kind of centered in North America, Europe, Australia. They have different kind of budgetary expectations than companies in China, and different kind of values placed on the outcomes and the value proposition that we're offering. So, I mean, if I can kind of summarize it all together, it's that we need a China strategy, kind of going at it with a little bit of an improvisation based on what we've already built, or an adaptation based on what we already built, hasn't been terribly successful so far. So we're in the process now of stepping back and really thinking through what will it take to establish a really kind of strong working program in China. Will we need to um, build staff kind of on the ground? Will we need to build other partnerships? Will we need to have an entire kind of separate product category, if you will, or separate program within China that's complementary to what we're doing? But whatever we do, it needs to be thoughtful, intentional, resourced, and then we need to go after it rather than just trying to press the square peg of what we've already built through the round Chinese hole.
Amen. I think that's a really important lesson, not just for this exercise of building accelerators to drive climate solutions, but for global affairs, shall we say? We need a China strategy as the United States, as we sort of re-emerge from 4 years of whatever that was we just lived through, and get with the program on climate. And Joe Biden's got this story of a kind of clean energy industrial policy that's coming together. But we should look across the Pacific to that other enormous great nation that is already running a clean energy industrial policy, has been for years, and therefore dominates all these sectors, is innovating faster, harder than we are. And how do we partner with that and collaborate rather than compete so much? I mean, friendly competition, fine, but this decade demands all of us working together as well as we can. And so if, D3 can be part of that, the bridge building exercise, and demonstrate great ways to collaborate and learn from one to the other, it'll be a wonderful result. So glad you got that wisdom and shared it with us today. What's the company of the week for this mission log at the derivative?
Yeah, so this is a bit of a stretch, so bear with me here. It is, of course, the first day of the year of the ox. And the closest company in our portfolio that has an ox relationship is Mootral. It's actually a Swiss startup, but they produce a nutritive food additive for cattle that results in them producing 40% less greenhouse gas emissions.
That is awesome. That's a great ox connection. I think that's awesome.
But maybe that's a tie-in to the global nature of what we aspire to do. You're in Australia right now. I'm in the United States. We're talking about a Swiss startup and the relationship with China. Our mantra at the derivative is always that together and only together are we going to solve climate, and maybe this is a great microcosm.
Amen. With China's meat consumption going up as it has been last decades, that's got to be solved. And 40% reduction of cow methane, which is another word for farts. How do they do it?
So, there have been several attempts by other companies, both large and startup, to reduce cow emissions. Many of them have kind of failed in the promises that they've delivered, and some of them have some significant drawbacks. Mootral is still pretty early stage, so I'll just suggest that they have some secret sauce to their nutritional additive that results in both the good outcomes of 40% reductions and without the drawbacks of some of the other attempts that are out there.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for presenting some great learnings, and Happy New Year to you and to everyone. Look forward to doing D3 mission log next time.
Happy New Year. You're the ox.